Greetings, family. Welcome to another edition of KSOL Black Talk Radio, the new black media. Family, this video is about a Coast Guard officer who's suspected of a terror plot, and he may be released from jail. Just when you thought you've seen or heard it all when it comes to white privilege, here we have another case, a poor example of this racial system and how it is failing America. But here's another example of just how messed up this racial system is. So, a federal judge has agreed to consider the pretrial release of a white nationalist military officer who prosecutors say was planning a domestic terrorism on a scale rarely seen in this country. Before I continue, let me just state for the record, this monster's name is Christopher Paul Hasson. Now, Magistrate Judge Charles Day, remember that, Magistrate Judge Charles Day. You know, side note, some of these judges, or let's just say the majority, if not all of them, I wish we could just overhaul the system and throw them all out with the trash. These so-called judges, if that's what you want to call them, they wield way too much power, and they have been very destructive when it comes to the human race. That's right, the original human race. Yes, the original human that was on this planet first, the black people of this earth. To the human race, these judges have been detrimental to our lives. Why we call them judges, I'll never know. How they've gotten into those positions, white privilege, I'm sure. And the very few sprinkles of black judges, the very few that they have, don't even make me laugh. You have absolutely no power. You found that out when the judge cited that there was too many white jurors on a jury trial, and they put that judge in his place. So don't come to my channel telling me anything about black judges either. But let me continue. About these judges, we need to overhaul them. That's all that I'm going to say, especially when they have the power to make decisions like this, to release a domestic terrorist. But let me continue. Magistrate Judge Charles Day said Wednesday in United States District Court in Maryland that the government had not met the standard for continued detention of Coast Guard Lieutenant Christopher Hasson, who was arrested in February on drug and weapons-related offenses. Prosecutors called him a domestic terrorist bent on committing acts dangerous to human life that are intended to affect governmental conduct. Now, after I read that, you still wonder, well, how is it that he may be released from jail? Back to Magistrate Judge Charles Day. That's why I said, remember that name. But let me continue. Government officials had argued that Hasson, who was arrested February 15th, should remain in custody pending his trial. Hasson has pleaded not guilty to the weapons and drug charges, and his lawyer said in a court filing that no further charges were expected. Well, before I continue, let's take a look at all the evidence of what they've gathered from the premises of this creature. This individual shouldn't even be allowed or considered at all out of jail when they have this type of war ammunition, if you ask me. I mean, this is so much ammunition and guns and weapons for what? For what? When you have an individual that has a twisted mentality and you already know it, How is it that you would use even a conscious thought to even let him loose or let him free? How could you, as a sane, intelligent, so-called sane and intelligent judge, if that's what you want to call yourself, how could you even consider allowing a creature like this out when you know that they've accumulated weapons of this magnitude? How could you even consider it for it to be a headline on social media networks? This is a travesty, and this is what a racial system looks like turned upside down on its head. But let me continue. So despite the prosecutor's assertion that Hasson intended to kill Democratic political figures and liberal commentators, they apparently were unable to find a statute under which he could be charged as a terrorist. Legal experts say it is difficult to charge domestic terrorists unless they are affiliated with Islamic extremist groups. So, white supremacists who are domestic terrorists, our government is finding it very hard to even charge you because, after all, there's no statutes that says a white man could ever be a terrorist. See, you guys have made up your rules and your laws that are so superficial and so ridiculously dumb and ignorant that you have all the excuses in the world why you're not charging yourselves for the crimes that you commit. How foul and wrong is this? So this idiot here has the ability to have all types of ammunition and, if you ask me, to start a war, a race war at that, and he even plotted to do that, and you have a judge magistrate, Charles Day, considering releasing him from jail. It doesn't even matter what you put on him, whether you put ankle bracelets or anything else. Why are you allowing this creature out of jail? Period. You find it so hard to have white men behind bars. You guys, white America, you're so disgusting. This is why I can't go back and forth with you idiots in my comment section, because you guys come up with every excuse in the world too, and I have no time for your idiocy. Zero time for it. So come correct or don't even try it. But how do you even come up with things like, well, we can't charge him because, after all, it's difficult to charge domestic terrorists unless they're affiliated with Islamic extremist groups. So you can charge black people with being terrorists and whatnot. You can charge other people of other ethnicities, but you can't charge white people for being domestic terrorists. Again, this racial system is turned upside down on its head. You heard it here at KSOL Black Talk Radio mentioning that this system is a racial system. I've been saying that. You heard it here at KSOL. I haven't heard anyone else say that. I've heard other YouTubers constantly refer to it as a criminal justice system, and I maintain that it is not a criminal justice system. This is a racial system. When you have examples like this, it is showing you plain and clearly. As a matter of fact, it's slapping you in the face with reality of what this is. But because black people are so backwards, we're late on things, we're Johnny come lately all the goddamn time, that we still call this a criminal justice system. Okay, well, you keep doing that. You won't hear me saying that here. But I digress. Authorities have not cited any concrete actions he took that could be charged as conspiracy or attempted murder. In a court filing submitted earlier this week, however, federal prosecutors argued that 2 charges of possession of an unmarked and unregistered silencer are directly related to Hasson's alleged terror plot. Quote, "The silencers serve one purpose: to murder quietly. The defendant intended to do so on a mass scale, and his intention has thwarted his unlawful desire," the prosecutors wrote, arguing that Hasson continues to pose a serious danger and must be detained pending trial. At a future hearing not yet scheduled, defense attorneys will stipulate conditions for Hasson's release. If Day finds them acceptable, Hasson will be freed from jail. So again, how can you call yourself a judge? Oh yeah, but that's right, you're a KKK member dressed up in a black gown and you call yourself a judge. But I understand why you're considering letting out one of your fellow brothers, Charles Day. And I won't be calling you a judge, Charles Day. But I can understand how it is that you're willing to allow one of your brethrens out of jail because you, being a white male, hiding behind a judge's gown, you're protecting your own. And of course, you don't want to see him behind bars where he belongs. He actually belongs under the jail, being a domestic terrorist, wanting to do harm to our country. And you have judges, United States judges, a magistrate judge by the name of Charles Day, who was considering letting out this creature. But I digress. Quote, "He's got to have a whole lot of supervision," Day said, mentioning home confinement and electronic monitoring as options. Quote, "Somebody who's got eyes and ears on him like nobody's business," unquote. Well, let me state for the record, Judge Day, have you considered letting out the hundreds of thousands of black men who you put behind bars? Have you considered letting them out on home confinement for doing good behavior? And you haven't even allowed this creature the opportunity to be behind bars long enough to show good behavior, but you're willing to let him out. Again, this racial system is turned upside down on its head. Federal prosecutors alleged that in addition to accumulating firearms and silencers, Hasson routinely perused the manifesto of Anders Behring Breivik, a far-right Norwegian terrorist who killed 77 people in 2 attacks in 2011, whose beliefs were also cited by a gunman who killed 50 recently here in New Zealand mosque last month, in what prosecutors described as an apparently unsent draft email from September 2017. Hasson addressed a well-known American neo-Nazi leader whose name has not been disclosed, identifying himself as, quote, "a long-time white nationalist, having been a skinhead 30 plus years ago before my time in the military," unquote. Hasson's arrest renewed concerns about members of white nationalists and other extremist groups infiltrating the U.S. military, which that's another video of mine as well. The extremist groups who have infiltrated our militaries, but we'll get to that in another video. So according to prosecutors, Hasson compiled a list of targets, including a number of Democratic politicians and left-leaning political commentators. The names on the list, well, you know who they include: Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Maxine Waters, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker. He had named quite a few. And other YouTubers had done a video on this before, so I'm not going to repeat some of the same information here. But I will say this, on the same day he finished the list, the court filing says, Hasson completed the following Google searches over the course of 3 hours. Quote, what if Trump illegally impeached, unquote. Quote, best place in D.C. to see Congress people, unquote. Quote, where in D.C. to Congress live, unquote. And then, quote, civil war if Trump impeached, unquote. And then, quote, Social Democrats USA, unquote. Now, this is what he searched after he compiled this list. Those were the searches that they found he had done on his computer. In an April 23rd filing, prosecutors said Hasson had previously searched for the addresses of 2 unnamed Supreme Court judges and 2 unnamed social media executives, along with the phrases, quote, best nigger gunny killing gun, unquote, and quote, white homeland, and quote, when are whites going to wake up, and then quote, please God, let there be a race war, unquote. So you see, this man has a twisted viewpoint and ideology, and then you have a so-called judge considering letting him out, but the hundreds of thousands of black men who are in jail for no reason or petty reasons, they're keeping us confined in their jails. This is the racial system that they have going on. But anyways, prosecutors also allege that Hasson was present at a 1995 assault by a neo-Nazi leader in a jacket with swastika patches. So his affiliation, those who he hang around, are also terrorists, thugs, and criminals. So family, lastly here, per the court document, Hasson has been serving as an acquisitions officer at the Coast Guard's D.C. headquarters since June 2016. Though he has not received any tactical weapons or explosives related training in this position, the prosecutors note that Hasson served in the Marine Corps from 1988 to 1993, followed by approximately 2 years of active duty with the Army National Guard. When authorities raided his residence in Silver Spring, Maryland, they found 15 firearms and over 1,000 rounds of mixed ammunition, according to the charges filed against him. And you mean to tell me that with all of these weapons and ammunitions, that you can't keep this man behind bars for a good long time for having enough weapons to, again, create a race war, because that's what his ideology and what his plans were to do. This is KSOL Black Talk Radio, where black media matters. I hope you like and share this video, and as I stated before, I will be doing another video on white supremacists who have in fact infiltrated our United States militaries. This man is a clear example of that. You heard his training and exactly what military services he performed in, he was active duty in, and there's others that I'm going to report on in my next video, or not, maybe not my next video, but in a future video. I will be covering this issue of the extremists, the white extremists, the white nationalists in our militaries. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace out.